Luis, thanks for the submission. This is looking awesome. Thanks again for your reference. It's super helpful to have. This is looking like a really great and solid start. Um, yeah, I'm loving how you're progressing through this. So I do have just one kind of like major overall comment, I think, and that is I'm not seeing a lot of like rotate. Like this is nice. I think this is maybe okay. Let me say the thing before I say where you're not doing the thing. But there's a lot of times where the like the hips and this torso stuff all feels like really like it stays in alignment, and we're not getting a lot of like rotation or design attention out of there, and I'm really feeling it in the hips. And I'm watching a reference, and I know that maybe in the reference like it's not super obvious and stuff. I know that this is one of the frames that you called out in your notes, but I think that this frame, like something like this, it would really help you with the legs like not intersecting each other if you could give it a little bit of hip rotation, where instead of seeing the back side in this view, instead of seeing the back side of that hip, maybe we're seeing a little bit of the front side of that hip. So it's rotated to where this blue leg is kind of coming out of the side a little bit more, and that might give, if the red leg was behind, that might give you the ability to get this pose without the hips, like without the thighs crashing through each other. And that's just a general note. Like, you're doing a lot of great rotations out of this main cog, but I feel like in most of these poses, especially because a lot of these actions are like really twisty actions, so maybe if you're rotating the pelvis back this way, you keep the front rotated this way, so you get kind of like a nice twist down the torso. I think that'll help make it feel like a little bit looser, I don't know if this drawing really reads, but this is the side of the character, that's the front, and here we're peeking a little bit of the back. But just try to get a little bit more of that like torso rotation, try to kind of like break up the rotations, the Y rotations. But other than that, I think everything's working really great. Like, I really love how you're paying attention to the up and down of the cog here for these like little jumps. Like there's a nice jump and a land, there's a nice jump and a land, and then there's another little hop there into that pose. Great pose there. I feel like you're really nailing it. Yeah, cool stuff. Again, I'm gonna stop talking about this, I promise. But maybe you can rotate the hips a little bit over just to get a little breakup of that kind of thing in there. Yeah, and then the only other real note I have, and I know that you called it out towards the end. Yeah, really cool. Towards the end is like what's going on here. It just feels like kind of off balance, obviously. I'm sure you can see that. Maybe too when the character pops up, looking at it in, oops, sorry, I don't know if you can see this stupid dialog box. But like I'm looking at the center of gravity here in this clip, maybe when the character pops up, they're a little more over this way, so that like this looks still a little off balance, but maybe like the center of gravity is doing a slow travel over, because like this is a believable pose here if the character is about to like take off and shoot that way. I checked it out in the reference, and he does one more action or something before he rolls. I think there's like a big box here that he rolls on top of. Maybe you don't want to do that second action, and that's fine. But like the spacing between here and here is doable and plausible, especially because I would imagine the next frame it continues like over here somewhere. But this only really becomes plausible to me yeah, the previous frame is here. That's all great. But then here, you know, it's kind of like locked in this same lateral space or horizontally space. So maybe just watch the spacing on that as you work out some of these poses. So yeah, if he went from this pose into something a little more like up and then started kind of the move over, maybe that's a way to address that. I don't know, but you know, again, I'm nitpicking about this stuff. It plays really nicely, and most of these poses are really strong. It's cool how you're doing the camera edits like they were doing in the film, because it works so well. Yeah, great stuff. And then, you know, when you get into it too, there's going to be a pass that you're going to have to take to like settle the umbrella down, because as you watch like the umbrella's movement, it's a little like herky-jerky, you know. So I don't know if you want to pay attention to that now as you're like getting the main body and torso and leg poses worked out, but it'll probably need another pass. I'm just pointing it out just to make sure you're aware. I'm pretty sure you're probably aware. It's just something you haven't gotten to. But yeah, it goes like right, left, stuff like that. But yeah, really cool stuff. I love it. Yeah, maybe on like these side poses, you can like get the center of gravity back a little bit too. That might help clean up some of the intersections here and here. If that's hidden in your camera view, you know, then it's kind of like whatever. You can get away with intersections as long as they're hidden. But still, it's kind of nice to clean it up if you can without too much bother, because then you can move the camera or choose to move the camera later and know that your stuff is going to look pretty solid from any camera angle. But anyways, this is great. Keep it up. I don't know if you feel like you're ready to start splining. It feels like there's a good amount of step poses in there where when you go to spline, it's going to be easier for you. I love that you're working in step because I know you're a little resistant to it. So, but this looks really great and really, really strong. So yeah, I don't know. I would clean up just a few of those poses that I called out. Maybe, you know, get a little bit of that torso rotation going on there. Like kind of loosen up the hips. I think it'll help make the whole torso feel a little bit more loose, but really great stuff. You know, if you feel like you want to take it to spline, I'd be super comfortable with that. So great work. Keep it up and let me know if you have any questions. All right. Thanks.